And things will pick up here. Okay, welcome to today's session on creative interactive data visualizations in Excel. My name is George Mon. I'm a Microsoft Excel MVP. I'm an author with O'Reilly Media of Modern Data Analytics and Excel and Advancing into Analytics. I'm a LinkedIn Learning author, and this is one of the ways that I like to market my business and share the knowledge of Excel. We are going to do something a little different today, which is we are going to run this blog post or this webinar, I should say, based on a post I wrote a few weeks back that people seem pretty interested in. And that topic is creating interactive visualizations in Excel. You're going to see that dynamic arrays is going to be the duct tape that holds us all together. Okay, so what we're going to do here, let me copy the link. I posted the blog post in the Eventbrite page. I also posted it in the chat. As always, if people come in late, you are welcome to share this download file. So there is a download file right on this blog post. Okay, so what you can do is click the link, download that file, and then we are going to get started with that. So we're going to focus on three particular things with interactive data visualizations in Excel. Obviously, this is a huge topic. Okay, so what we're going to look at today, we are going to look at using drop downs. Okay, we're going to look at using checkboxes, and then we're going to look at using top N analysis. Okay, and we're just going to be using bar charts today. So obviously, there are a whole lot of charts you can build visualizations with, a whole lot of charts you can build data visualizations with. But we are just going to focus on the humble bar chart. Obviously, you can adapt this to other stuff. There's only so much we can do in a short-ish webinar. I think this will go about 40 minutes, but I'm not positive. So we'll see how it goes. We have the download file and the link. If anybody has a problem with that, downloading it, just let me know. I'm going to go ahead and download that myself. Okay, and let's go ahead, and it looks like this one I shared on OneDrive possibly. Let me see if that's right. No, it's on GitHub. So go ahead and just download that. It should just download to your desktop. Okay, let's go ahead and download that. And then no extracting this time since it's just a single file. Okay. And here we go. All right. So you already have the solution files over here, but we're going to go ahead and walk through them from scratch together. Okay. And again, you do have that blog post. So we're basically just going to paint by numbers here together, work through this post. And again, if there are any questions, you have the chat. It's not a huge group today. I kind of figured before the holidays, but thanks for coming nonetheless. All right. So all right, I already see some people coming in. So let me go ahead and just share the download file again. And again, it is in the link for today's event. This is being recorded. I will send out a link to the recording once we're done with today. Okay, so we're going to start with a drop-down visualization here. We have some branches and their deposits. Okay, I'm going to create a simple drop-down. So we're going to say select region. Okay. We want the user to be able to select what region they want, okay? And then what we're going to do is get the data, right, associated with that region, and we're going to visualize this data. So we're going to do this in a few steps here. Now, this isn't necessarily something that you absolutely need to do, but what I would encourage you to do is let's take this in a couple of steps. So we have our regions. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let's just create another setup worksheet. So I'll just call this like setup 2. So I'm just going to hide this in the back. This is kind of like a helper worksheet for us. Unique region categories. Okay. And let's go ahead and call that unique. Okay. And we are going to just get the unique categories there. So I'm using tables. I'm using dynamic arrays. If you're not in the habit of using these tools, I would say definitely start using them. Okay, because we're going to use this as the basis for the dropdown. Okay. I believe we could just feed the table into the column in here and it would just remove duplicates on our own. But what's nice about this is we could do something like if we wanted to sort this column, let's say I want to sort it, let's say sort it descendingly or sort it ascendingly. So what you're seeing here is that I'm able to, sort this A to Z. This particular one, we might even want to use like a custom ordering, since I think usually people think of like east, south, north, and west, but we're just going to make this alphabetical. You'll see if I make this the -1 with the sort function, right? So basically what we're doing here, we passed in that unique function. We're going to sort it by that first column. That's what that index number is, okay? And then we are going to -1 to make that descending versus ascending. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that into the chat there. So you've got that. All right. So we're going to use this as the basis for our dropdown. We're going to go ahead and let's head back to our data. And I'm going to go to where I want this dropdown to be. So I'm going to go to data. Okay. And let's go to data validation. Actually, I missed a step. First, we're going to name this array. So let's go to formulas and name manager. So we have a couple of steps here. So first, what we did, create the unique regions. Okay. Second, what we're going to do is name the resulting dynamic array. Okay. And third, we'll use the named range in the data validation. All right. So we did this. That's right there. Now what we're going to do is name that resulting dynamic array. So let's go back to formulas. We're going to go to our name manager. Okay. We could define the name right here. I'm going to go into the full name manager. You'll see if I have any named things already. And I'm going to go ahead and let's create something like regions. Okay. So I'm going to name this regions. I'm going to go back to my setup worksheet here, okay? And I'm going to refer to A3, and I'm going to use the hash sign. So if you're not familiar, the hash sign is the spill operator in Excel. So what we're going to do in this case is rather than refer statically to the data in A3, okay, we're going to refer dynamically to whatever dynamic array is associated with that region. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let's do equals regions. Okay, so you'll see what we're doing now is we are referring to this set here. And again, if I were to sort this differently, that is going to change. Okay. Again, if there are any questions, please do let me know. If you want me to slow down or whatever, please tell me as soon as possible. Online training is hard. I don't know, I don't know what people are doing. So if you're trying to follow along and you're struggling, let me know. If you're just here to like listen, that's fine too. You're not paying for it, so whatever. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to, we did the name manager. So basically what we just did here, we created the unique regions, we named the resulting dynamic array, and now what we're going to do is use that name range in the data validation. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go back to data. I'm going to go to data validation. Okay, and now I'm going to set this up to the list. I'm going to make this equal to, I believe we need the equal sign there, regions. Okay, there we go. Yeah, okay. So again, let me do that one more time, just so in case you didn't see anything. Data validation. We're going to go to a list, okay, and we want to set that to regions. Okay, so you're seeing that everything's tied together, okay? We created the unique regions, we named the resulting dynamic array, and now we're going to use that named range in the data validation. Amazing. All right, so we're getting a lot closer. So now what I'm going to do is just filter out the data that I want. So we're going to say filter. We're going to take this set of deposits, okay? We are, oops, no, not like that, deposits. Okay, we are going to say we want the deposits where region is equal to west, right? So we'll do that. Okay, we have this data filtered. I'll put this in the chat in a second, but we're going to do one more thing just for like data hygiene. It's more like data presentation. It's not really hygiene. I'm just going to format that so it's a little bit easier to look at. All right, so we have all that. Okay. Last thing I'm going to do is generally when we make a bar chart, it's a good idea to make that bar chart from high to low. It's just a little bit easier when our audience sees this. So let's go ahead and actually insert the bar chart now so we'll see this. So let me put this in the chat in case you didn't do it. Again, we're going to sort this data just so it's a little bit easier for our audience to look at. So I'm going to just select this range here. Okay, I'm going to insert. Let's go to recommended charts. Okay, and I'm going to go to column. Yeah, recommended charts. Let's do this one. So I'm just going to do a vertical bar chart. We could make it horizontal. I'm going to leave it vertical for right now. Okay. All right. So here's our chart. We could do some stuff to it. We'll maybe do a couple things in a second, but we have a basic bar chart. So again, the idea is our users should be able to, select via dropdown what they want, right? And they're going to see it. Now you'll see that like in this case, it's sorted from low to high. Others of these, it looks like it's just kind of naturally sorted from high to low. What I'm going to do is make sure that this is always sorted from high to low, just so it's a little bit easier to look at. And again, we can do that with the sort function here. So we're going to wrap sort inside of here. Okay, this is what we're going to sort. We're going to sort this result. Okay. The sort index is the index column. So, you've heard that before, probably in the context of like VLOOKUP. What's your index, the index number of the column you're looking up. In this case, it would be 1, 2, and 3, right? We're trying to sort by the deposit. So I'm going to make that a 3. And then last but not least, do we want this high to low? Do we want this low to high? We want this high to low. So I'm going to make that a 1. Okay. So in that case, it looks like, actually, I think I want this descending. We want it high to low, not low to high. So now if we, select this, we'll make sure this is consistently set up. Okay. So a few things here. Let me put that in the chat. Okay. All right. A few things here just for like cleanup. If you want the headers, what I would suggest to do is filter by default. It doesn't include the headers, but what I would do if you really wanted the headers is let's just create another reference over to the header column. So what I'm going to do there is just, point and click and drag it, and you'll see those headers are there. Okay. You could also type that out if you wanted to, and I'll put that in the chat. Okay, so now that, maybe just a little bit easier to look at if people want to look at that source data. The other thing that I'm going to do is, and this is a little tricky, but I don't like how the regions are listed in here. It's a little bit redundant. So if we wanted to fix that, let's right click this. We're going to select my data, and what I should be able to do where it says horizontal axis labels. So again, let's just trying to get rid of these labels because we don't really need them. Edit, and where it says E4 through F5, let's make that E4 through E5. Okay. And now that should get rid of them. So you'll see now when we select data, right, it's not including the region. Okay. So that's just a little bit more hygienic, so to speak. If we wanted to take this even further, something that we could do is, something like let's do concat. What I'm going to do is total posits by branch 4, and let's select that region, right? And then we'll put region. So concatenate again combines data. So here's our formula. This is totally dynamic, right? And what we can do here is, right, if they drop that down, everything connects. And now what we're going to do is just equals and refer over to that. Okay. Amazing. All right. So this is all set up. This is our first example, okay, of using a dropdown and building an interactive visualization. Any questions with that one? Anybody? Bueller? Okay. Any signs of life out there? Okay, good. All right, thank you. Okay. Uh, all right. Let's do a drop down now. I'm sorry, we did a drop down. We're gonna do checkboxes. Okay. So let's move on to checkboxes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Anders. Thank you, Jorge. Okay, cool. All right, so what we're gonna do now is set up some checkboxes so that the user is gonna select what branches they want to see. Okay, and then only those branches are gonna get included in the visual. All right, so the way that I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna make a copy of this column here. Okay, so let's just do this. I don't really want the user interacting with the source data, and I don't really want to add a checkbox like in the table. I just think it looks kind of weird. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just list out the names down here. Okay, so again, just insert a few lines and create this reference. Again, this is another dynamic array. So one of the things to be aware of with this is you want to make sure you're giving your worksheet like a wide berth, as it were. So for example, if I had any data kind of like blocking this output range, it's not going to spill. So you want to make sure that you get rid of anything kind of like blocking this area. All right, so we have this over here. Now what I'm going to do is insert some checkboxes. Now, unfortunately, I don't know of a way to like make this fully dynamic so that as this expands and contracts, the number of checkboxes expand and contract. I think that's just a manual thing we have to do right now. So what I'm going to do is just select all of these columns right next to the branches. We're going to go to insert and we're going to go to checkbox. Now, if you don't have this, that is very possible. It is a newish feature, so depending on your version and your build of Excel, you might not have it. So you got the recording, you've got the blog post. You're welcome to look at it later, or you can just follow along right now. So we're going to insert the checkbox. Okay, so let me again. You're going to go to insert. You're going to go to checkbox. And again, also if you're falling behind with this, I guess you could follow that blog post too. Let me share that again because I'm kind of reading through it myself because I feel like I'm going kind of fast, but if you're able to follow, that's great. We have our checkboxes. I've inserted these checkboxes. Okay, so you're going to notice that when I check these on and off, this is going to toggle from true to false. So we can use that as the basis to drive which of these to include in our visual. So we're going to write a filter function again to do that. So let's take this one step at a time. We are going to sort this by high to low again, but let's focus on the filter first. So we're going to filter the data up here, okay, based on which one of these are set to true, i.e. which one of these are turned on. So this is going to be a little bit more complex of a formula this time. What we're going to do is let's filter our data. And again, you know what we want to filter? We want to filter the deposits table here. Okay, now what I need to do is figure out a way to filter based on this column. So how can I write something dynamic that's going to set all of the values that are set to true here to filter this table? So I basically want this to match this when this is true. The way I'm going to do that is with the offset function. So what I'm going to do here with offset, we're going to say, let's take A28. We're going to use the hash sign. So we're referring again to the dynamic array. We are going to go over by a column, okay? And we're going to set that to true. Okay, I think this is going to work. Let me just double check. Okay, good. All right, so basically what we just did here is we're saying, so let me check this on. Okay, that's working. So what we're doing right here is we're filtering this table. We're filtering it based on the offset. We're taking this column, we're moving over 1. That's where that 1 comes from. And if that's true, i.e. if that is checked on, we're going to be able to include that in the table. All right, so let's go ahead and I'll put that in the chat. We're going to sort this again. So let's sort, okay. And then let's do 3, because again, index 3, that's the third column. We're going to sort it descendingly. -1. Okay. Now, when you get to more complex formulas like this, one thing that might help you is if you do like an alt and enter, what that's going to do is actually break up, and I can even, drag this over a little bit. So what I could do is, like an alt and enter, and maybe I could like space this over a little bit and kind of like make the beginning of this one align, just so it's a little bit easier to see what I'm trying to do here, right? Like I'm sorting, filtering. Maybe we could even take that a step further and kind of, break this down as much as possible. So, right, I'm sorting, I'm filtering this, I'm filtering it based on this condition, and now here are the conditions that I'm sorting by. So if that helps you, go ahead and keep doing that. I definitely do that myself. Or you could, you could break this into helper functions as well, whatever works for you. I'm going to go ahead and leave that as is, and let's go ahead and just format this as a currency. Okay, so we have our drop downs. I'm sorry, we have our checkboxes. And now what we're going to do is, again, just let's select the data here. We're going to insert. Okay. I was thinking that one of them, if we go to bar, okay, never mind. Okay, let's just select the first one. And then I believe what we could do is the same thing. If we didn't want the regions again, we could select data and just make this column D. All right. So now let's just double check that's working. Okay, and that seems to be working. Okay, and then again, for the title, something like deposits by selected branch or something like that. All right. So that's number 2. We just created some checkboxes to drive our chart. Any questions with that? Awesome. Okay. So last but not least, we're going to do a top N. Oh, that's not what I wanted to paste in there. We are going to do a top N visualization. Okay. All right. So this is really a common thing to do in like Tableau or Power BI. I know in Tableau it's called like a top N parameter, just to make the visual a little more user friendly. So the idea of a parameter is just a fancy word, and Power BI does this as well. But a parameter is just a fancy word for a variable. So this is like a top N parameter. I like to think of it as like a variable, or even like a user-defined input is a good way to think about it well, or user-defined variable. So the idea is that we're going to do a top N, but instead of N being fixed, it could be top 10, it could be top 5, it could be top 3, or it could just be top N. So the user is just going to define what N should be. Okay, so that's just a little bit more dynamic than always giving a top 10 or whatever. Okay, so the way we're going to do this, we're going to set up another, value, user-defined value here. I'll start with a 5. If we really wanted to, we could go to data validation, right, and maybe make it like it's got to be a whole number between, I don't know, 3 and 7 or something like that, right? So again, it's a whole number. We always know it's a whole number because it's top 5, top 10, whatever. Okay, so we'll make that whole number between one value and another, just for some extra, peace of mind if we wanted to. And again, the user, if they try to go outside of those bounds, they won't be able to. Okay, so we're going to do something similar here. This one, what we're going to do, let's try to break this down into smaller formulas as well. So what I want to find out here is what are the values in this table that meet this top 5 criteria. So we want to find basically the largest N values is the way we want to think about this right now. Okay, largest N values. All right, and the way we can do that is we're going to start with the large function here. All right, so what the large function is going to do is if I select my total deposits column right here, okay, and I do 5, okay, this is going to give us the 5th largest value. If I do a 1, Okay, well, it doesn't let me, so I'm going to remove my data validation right now just for testing purposes. If I do a 1, it's going to give me the highest value, right? If I give it a 5 or a 6. So what we can do is use this as the basis and say, okay, so here's the 6th largest value. Give me all the values here. We're going to use this as our filter to give me all the rows that exceed that value. So let's try that out. I'll go ahead and put this in the chat. And again, we are going to be expanding on it here in a second. So let's go ahead and we're going to filter the data. This time it's going to be not filer, it's going to be filter. We're going to filter by deposits. Okay. And now again, I'm going to do an alt and enter just to break this up for myself a little bit, where this value, okay, let's say I missed a step here. We're going to filter deposits, and we are going to filter where deposits. I'm surprised this isn't, okay, total deposits. Let's go ahead and just visually drag and drop this. I don't know why it's not letting me just kind of use that IntelliSense. It doesn't seem to be. We're working right now. What we're trying to do is filter by deposits where, okay, well, that's not right either. Sorry, everybody. A little bit of a brain fart here. Okay, we're filtering where the total deposits is greater than or equal to this particular value. So we're going to use this value down here as the filter. So if it's greater than or equal to, 85 million, right? All the rows greater than or equal to 85 million, we're going to include. Okay, so let's see if that works. I think I'm just missing a closing parentheses. Yeah, okay, sorry. Okay, there we go. Okay, so it took a little bit of labor. Let me put that in the chat. All right. Hopefully that's making sense what we're doing here. Again, so if I made this a 1, we're going to get just the 1, right? If I made this like a 10, I think we would get everything because I think this is 10 rows. Yeah, or 9. Okay. So you'll see that that should change. So now, again, we can use this as the basis to drive our top-end analysis. Okay. Just for the sake of consistency, let's go ahead and sort this again. So again, we're going to do the same thing here, where I'm going to sort by that third column, which is the deposits. I'm going to sort it high to low or descendingly. I'll put that in the chat in a second. Let's make that a currency. Okay. And okay, I wanted a currency. That's fine. Okay. And now again, we have this as the basis to insert our chart. Okay, so let's select our data, insert, and there is our data. Now, for some reason, we get a suggested chart this time that doesn't include the regions inside of there, which is what we want anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one, right? And then this thing should work pretty seamlessly. We could do something similar again, right? Where we could do something like concat, and let's say, top the n, right? There's our n, branches by total deposits or something like that, right? And then sync that into there so that as n changes, right, everything updates. Okay, so those are our 3 examples for today. Obviously, there's a lot more that you can do with data visualization. I'm sure you've seen people do some pretty wild stuff in Excel with interactive visualizations, but I think this gives you a nice little tool set here for using dynamic array functions really seamlessly with visuals in Excel, just to add a little bit more interactivity and be able to make your reports and visuals come to life a little bit further than they otherwise would in Excel. A lot of this stuff would have been pretty difficult to do back in the days before dynamic arrays. Okay. So it is 12:30 Eastern. I think I said we were going to go for 40 minutes, so I guess it was a little bit even less than that, but that's okay. It's almost the holidays. So let me close out here with my typical housekeeping. So first things first here, we are going to have a little bit of a Christmas break here for a couple weeks, but I will be back in full swing in the new year. Going to be doing a session on AI. We're going to be talking about Power BI. We're going to be going back to some topics on the book. Okay, so lots more coming. I plan to keep doing these in the new year. So hopefully that's something that you're excited about as well. And then the last thing is, as always, if you would like to share any feedback, that would be greatly appreciated. So, obviously these are free. I don't ask for any money. There's really no gimmicks. You're not going to be spammed with me for the rest of your life trying to get something, trying to get you to buy something. I feel like that's often the case with uh, webinars that you sign up for. So all I ask for is just some simple feedback. What did you like? What could I do better? What are topics you'd like to see? If you could leave like a blurb that I could use, to help me market. That's really all I ask for. Okay. So hopefully you find that a fair enough deal. I'm going to stop recording. And if there are any final questions, I'm happy to take them. But thanks again so much, especially so close to the holidays here, for tuning in. And hope to see you next year. And I'm going to stop recording now.